with 3 strakes on, you can start to see the shape of the boat coming, but we've got a long way to go yet. I still have another strake to do on the other side, but you can start to see its final form. The Skudelev 5 had another strake on top of it still, and I might still consider putting another one in, but this is seaworthy at this point. And yeah, it being Thursday of War Week, just in time. So the first float test was a bit of a failure. There was a few small leaks, but more importantly, we had a lot of problems with its stability. So it's going to require some ballast, and I think I'm going to add another strake or two in as a way of compensating for it riding lower in the water then. So we're out for a second float test. It's still taking on a little bit of water, but with a little bit of ballast, it's doing just fine. So I have 7 strakes on now. My planks have gotten a little bit wider as I've been going up, so it doesn't have a lot of flexibility anymore. It's pretty solid. The shape of the top isn't bad, but I am going to put some spreaders across to both hold the shape and to act as the base for the decking that we're going to then put across it. And I'm going to put that 2 strakes down from the top, and then we'll see when it's finished whether I add one more for added freeboard. Here's the first of the crossboards. Haven't quite got the angle right yet, but that's okay. It's just going to sit on top of that strake, and then we'll put the boards above that. That'll only give 1 strake as freeboard, but I think that'll look okay. Having said that I was happy with the shape, I decided, well, it could be a little bit better. So I've cut a number of cross pieces all the same length, and I made a couple braces out of scrap just to slip over the top to hold it at the correct distance, and hopefully then we can, when we glue this, this will help shape the boat so we have a nice parallel profile through the midsection. The angles, by the way, are about 25 degrees. Not that that'll be true for every boat, and it's not true for every point along the boat, but it gave me a starting space. A little more and then we'll be ready for glue. Next thing is a mast. I wasn't very happy with how straight my maple's growing right now, so I've decided to resort to the square forest, and I'm just going to plane it round. Now the mast is a little bit too long, obviously at this point I'll have to cut it down. The question is, how much? The actual Skudelev 5 had a ratio of 9 to 6 with a 4x4 sail. I'm sitting at about 8 here, just under, and so my mast is, by those ratios, is going to be about 5, sails about 2.5 square, and then we'll see after that how it sails. I know that when I made my little boat that I sailed out at Lansel Meadows, I was constantly taking it down and making it smaller because it just couldn't handle the big waves. Won't quite have ocean conditions on this time voyage though. So, having cut out my mast length, I decided I really need to try it. So I've thrown in some quick stays, made a temporary sail out of tieback just to see what the sail area looks like. And given that today's a pretty strong breeze, might just have to get it down to the water and find out how it does sail. Of course, in the category of famous last words, as soon as I started talking about sailing it, I took the clamps off and immediately this popped off, so I've had to re-glue it. And since I hadn't actually put in a proper mast fish, still haven't really, I decided I'd add to the braces here, and I've glued in one more to help support both the mast and keep it from flexing out again. So hopefully this is enough. If not, then we'll consider putting in some tacks from the outside. Now I had temporarily just tied the stays to the thwarts here, but obviously that's not going to work when I want to put the deck on next. So I've drilled a hole just into my end piece here, and I'm sacrificing my mast to make a couple pegs. So this will give these belay pins, will just give me some place to tie off to. With the pin done, I'm ready to do the deck boards. Now, in the past I've just fitted them individually on, and it can get a little bit annoying because you have to kind of keep cutting them to fit into the individual spots. Although we have to be careful that we actually don't get it too tight, because we actually do want the airflow underneath, otherwise it slows down the burn. But to help me along this time, I've decided I'm going to actually make myself a pattern, and then I'm going to just lay the boards on top of this instead. So it happens that just so happened I have a piece of paper that's almost perfectly, and I'm just going to line across the edges, and hopefully this will give me all I need to make a very quick pattern. So here's where I make good use of all the pieces that I cut off when I was making the sides of the ship before. I'll just line everything up, and I'll start making my cuts. I may have to go back to the table saw at some point, but it looks like I'm going to pretty much get everything I need for at least this half from these ones here. Having roughed out the boards, you can now come back in, lay them roughly in place, and find the spots where I need to trim to get them fitting properly. Alright, not too bad. A little bit more in this section, and we're on to the other side. So that takes care of the stern decks. They're just in loose because I do need to be able to access the hold. Not very happy with that size of a gap there, but as I say, it does need air anyway, and it's a pointless thing to try and fill that small a piece. I could glue a little bit to this last one board, but that's okay. All right, on to the prow. So there's the finished deck. I might still whittle it in a few spots to take away some stress because it's still popping a little bit. But that'll do the job. Now I just have to decide if I'm going to saw it in a few places to create hatches.
Cattle and men, all things die from my dragon ship. My ashes will rise on smoke and on flame from the funeral pyre. But my legend lives on, told round the fire. So keep your blade sharp on hostile soil. Be generous with kinsmen and your battle spoils. Show justice, ring giver, father sons with your seed, and you'll live on forever in both name and in deed, and you'll live on forever in this world's memory.